Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. And today we're looking at an older product that ALAKAZAM keeps talking about a lot, and that is the Bitbook 2.0 by Scott Creasey. A very cool little utility device, I may say so myself. I would call this a utility device that's going to let you add a lot of things in your already existing routines, whether they are ALAKAZAM effects or not. So I'm interested in talking more about this, giving you my review. So let's roll the intro and get straight into it. Perfect, so you decide to stick around, which means you want to learn more about Bitbook. So what is the Bitbook? It's essentially a utility device that is gonna let you implant information in your spectator's mind and retrieve it with ease. That is essentially what the Bitbook is. Now I'm going to show you a small performance of it. Again, it is hard to perform this without a spectator, but I will do my best. So the way that you would do this is you would take out this book and you say in your spectator in the middle of a routine or while you're doing something else, I wouldn't use this, small parenthesis before we start, I wouldn't use this as an only effect. So I wouldn't just do the Bitbook and move on. Maybe I would do it at a big table, but if it's like a one-on-one or with 2 or 3 spectators, I would use this as part of a larger routine. Nonetheless, you would take this book and you'd show them that this is a book that they use at paranormal research, at psychiatric research, at psychic research, in order to kind of see how people think, see how they interpret different types of information. So you'd say that in this book, every single page has a number, a drawing, a word, and a time. So every single page is different. Every single page has a different number, a different time, a different word, all the way throughout. And you could really show them as many pages as you want. And they would see. So then you would give them the book and you'd have them open it up. So you tell them, place the book flat and open it up with your thumb at any page. So this would be your page in this case. I hope the camera picks it up. And what I'm going to do is let's do the number. I really want you to focus at the number and look at the number at the bottom of the page. Okay, I'm going to leave it there a few seconds. So I hope that you got the number. Okay, I hope that you have the number in mind. Now what we're going to do is with that number, we're going to create another number. So what we're going to do is, let's say your number is 58. You're going to take 5 and you're going to add 8. So you're going to add the digits together. So if it's 58, you're going to add 5 plus 8 and it's going to give you a number. If it's, for example, 111, you're going to add 1 plus 1 plus 1 and you're going to have a new number. So do that with your number. I'm going to leave you a few seconds. You got it? Perfect. So now you have a single digit or a double digit number. I don't know what it could be, but you have one in mind. So what we're going to do is on the first page of the book, I have here some destinations. I hope that the camera is going to pick this up. And what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you look at the destinations and think of a destination that is next to your number. So if your number is on the list, think of the destination next to the number. If by any chance your number is not on the list, make up any destination that you want in your mind. Have you got it? Perfect. Now I want you to think of the destination that you have, and we're going to do this like this, because the destination itself, I think, is always big. So we're going to go for some focal points. Do you know the capital of that destination that you were thinking of or that you saw? You know the capital of that? Perfect. So think of the capital. Now I want you to think in the capital, if there's like monuments or things that people know about that, think of those. I'm going to be able to pick up on those a bit better. Okay, I'm definitely seeing a lot of movement, a lot of agitation, a lot of people. So it's definitely something very crowded and very popular. It's not something inconspicuous or small or not very, very known. It's something very known. It's also a very touristy place. I see a lot of tourists. I see a lot of planes, I also see a very big monument that a lot of people know, but also maybe you were thinking of something more artistic. I feel there's also an artistic connection to the place that you're thinking of. I'm getting really 2 things. I'm getting something very artistic and something very man-made, something very big that a lot of people recognize. I'm getting a painting and a kind of a sculpture or a landmark. So a landmark and a painting, I think, are very popular in this place. I'm getting the Eiffel Tower, the Mona Lisa. You're thinking of Paris? That's the capital that you're thinking of, but the city you were thinking of was the country was France, right? Yeah, perfect. So that is a small performance of the Bitbook, of one of the many things you can do with it, because as I said, you can reveal the time, you can reveal the word, you can reveal the drawing, or you can reveal even the number. You can just reveal the number. You don't have to do the country game. You can just purely reveal the number if you want. You can just reveal it as well. So that is essentially what the Bitbook does, how it operates, and yeah, it is very different to what you may be thinking. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. So where do you buy the Bitbook? The Bitbook is available from ALAKAZAM Magic. You can buy it down below with the discount code if you so want. It will settle you back £25, which is around 30 Canadian, which is around 30 US, 35-ish Canadian dollars. And what you get is a small box. My box, when it came in the mail, was absolutely trashed. So thankfully the book was okay, but the box was ripped. I don't know if at customs they inspected it or whatnot, but it was fully ripped in half, crumpled, but it doesn't matter. The box wasn't the main reason I bought it anyway. Thankfully the Bitbook was completely fine. So what you get is that box. You get an instructional video with Peter Nardi that goes over a bunch of routines, how to use it, how it plays out, the reveals, how to remember things, everything that you need to know. And then you also get your Bitbook, which is like this. It's a relatively small book that you can place in your pocket. It's very sturdy, it's very stiff. So I think that with time, it's going to maybe kind of air out a bit. But for the moment, it is, when you buy it, it's a bit stiff, but mine is already starting to get better with use. I've been using this a few times, but you also get your book. This is what the book looks like, okay? So that is what you get with your purchase. Now that you know what the Bitbook is, let's talk about difficulty. So how difficult is this to do? Now, for those that know the principles at play here, so the other pads that work similar to this that you may know, this is different in the fact that in the other pads, you always know 100% with accuracy what the spectator is thinking of because of the way it's designed. However, with this, there's a bit of layer of deception here, which means that you don't always know directly, right? You don't always know directly. So for example, if someone were to think of the word on the page, you don't know, like if it was with the other tool, the exact word that they're thinking of like this. So when they open the page, you really do not know what word they're thinking of or what number they're looking at or what drawing they're looking at. You legitimately don't know until a certain point. And don't worry, that doesn't mean that you have to remember anything. You don't have to remember almost anything. You just have to remember a few lines of patter, a few lines of dialogue that will cue the spectator to tell you what the thing is without even telling you what it is, okay? So it's really interesting in the way that it works. It has a bit more fine-tuning than the original pads that you may think of, and that fine-tuning may require a bit of memory work, but again, you don't have to remember anything. You just have to remember some phrases that will key you into a good direction. Again, I don't want to spoil everything here, but if you get what I mean, you get what I mean. It is not fully self-working, but it is pretty much almost fully self-working. So if remembering 2-3 key details is not self-working for you, then it isn't. But if remembering 2-3 key details that you will never forget in your life and that you can remember in an instant without any problems, then it is self-working. So I don't want to say it is self-working, then people tell me in the comments, oh, I bought this, but I had to remember these 3 things and I'm scared of forgetting them. This is not self-working, you lied. I'm giving it up to you to decide what's self-working and what's not, because again, that is a big issue in the magic community, so I have to be careful of what I say. To me, it's self-working and it's pretty easy to do. It is relatively quite simple. Now, let's talk about practicality. So how practical is the Bitbook? The Bitbook is very practical because all you need is this. So you can place this inside of your jacket pocket, in your pocket, wherever you want, and you are good to go. Additionally, what's nice is that ALAKAZAM Magic have made a lot of effects that use the Bitbook as an extra reveal. So one of the things that I'm going to be reviewing after the Bitbook is Will to Read. And if you have the Bitbook and Will to Read, you can pair them up and add a reveal. If you have, I think it's called Cataclysm, another ALAKAZAM routine. If you have Cataclysm, there's built Bitbook reveals in it. And there's a bunch of other routines that they market or that they teach in live academies. For example, in Mark Paul's academy, they give you a great routine to use this with. So it's a very nice tool to have with some other routines. So if you have some other routines such as these, the Bitbook is going to be really playing well with that as well. So you're gonna need the other effects as well. But if you only want to do the Bitbook, you're just gonna have to carry this around with you and you're good to go. In terms of angles, the Bitbook is pretty much 360 when it's in operation, so you don't have to worry about that. In terms of table, you do not need a table for the Bitbook. In terms of inspectability, the Bitbook is not inspectable. It should not need to be inspectable because of how fair you handle it yourself, how fair the spectator handles it, and how fair their choices are made. They shouldn't want to necessarily inspect it, but if ever they ask, can I see the book? You're gonna have to say no. So that is important to keep in mind as well. And regarding reset, there's no reset. And repeatability, you can repeat this from table to table with different reveals, and it's gonna work absolutely great. There is going to be some repetition. For example, the time, the country are gonna have some repetition, a lot of repetition, and some other reveals are going to repeat as well. But it will be maybe a bit varied enough that people aren't going to catch on. Now that we talked about that, let's talk about where to perform. So where would you perform Bitbook? Bitbook definitely works in close-up scenarios, table hopping, and those settings. However, I could easily see using the Bitbook on stage parlor as a pre-show tool. You could definitely use this as a pre-show tool to have someone think of a country, or have someone think of a random image or a random word or a random time in the day, or even a random 3-digit number. You could have them do that and use it as kind of a pre-show tool for you to work around. So that is definitely something that you could do. Now that we know all of this, let's talk about the positives and negatives of the Bitbook. So what are the negatives of the Bitbook? There are one or two that I'm going to point out. One of them is, of course, that the book is not inspectable. So this is not inspectable whatsoever. You cannot hand this to the spectator and have them look at it and inspect it. If they were to do a quick run through of it, they could maybe not see how it works, because as I said, it's not like a regular pad in which you always have the same outcome. Whereas here, if they were to look quickly through it, they will still see different numbers, different drawings, different words, no matter which way they look at it. So you could maybe get around with having it inspected, but you don't want to give it to them, just leave it on the table and have them really dissect it. I think a quick run through you can still pass by, but a full inspection, not really. The second thing that I'm going to point out as a negative is that it is very stiff when you get it. So it's going to take time for it to kind of loosen up, because it is made of really thick cardboard. Like this is really, really thick cardboard. So you will have to maybe play around with it a bit and handle it with a bit of care in order to open it up and not have it break or crease it. So those are the only negatives that I have for this. Now, what are the positives? One, the book has a lot of opportunities. You can use this as a pre-show tool. You can use this as a main effect. You can use this in conjunction with other effects. You can use this in mentalism feats. You can use this a lot. So the applications of this are absolutely great. It's also really well produced. The tutorial is good. The innovations over the regular pads that we know that use these principles are also very great, because they're varied. It's really practical, and it's pretty devious as well. So it's a really good little thing to have on you as a utility tool if you do mentalism. So would I recommend the Bitbook, and what do I give it out of 10? Would I recommend it? I think yes. I think if you're someone that really likes ALAKAZAM magic effects like myself, you have a bunch of effects already in which you can directly add this to your repertoire without an issue. If, however, you don't have any ALAKAZAM effects, then I still think this is worth it, because you're going to be able to think of ways in which you can use this as a utility device in some other of your effects, right? For example, you can use this is exclusive from me, but you can, if you have the Bitbook, you can use this in conjunction with Totem by Henry Harrius and Alex Eng, and have the first reveal of the city hit directly without having to do the trains and the witch hand, if you get what I mean. You can think of that and use that as an intro to that, and just think of how good that is. So yeah, it's gonna get your mind working as well. So yes, I do recommend the Bitbook. What do I rate it out of 10? It is good. It's not groundbreaking. It's not a utility that I'm going to go head over heels about, but it is something that I'm still going to use, so I'm giving it an 8 on 10. It is pretty good, and it is well produced, and it is something that I'm still going to use eventually. So yes, I do recommend it. 8 on 10 for me. As always, if you have any questions, leave them down below. If not, I'll catch you all in my next one, and I'll see you then. Have a great one.